Okay, so hello. So welcome to the website launch of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. My name is Nitstan, and I'm actually the copywriter, the current copywriter of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. And okay, so what a beautiful day. I apologize for the technical issue. And may I call on yes, the GP Syndicate founder, Mr. Mico Santos.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Nits, and thank you for all the listener and attendee on the Podcast Summit as well. And for today, we're gonna launch the new website of Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. So people say, "What is the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate?" So from the name itself, guerrilla, it's meaning a member, small independent group fighting against bigger forces. So we are an independent podcaster. So to just build a network for all the independent podcaster, and we're gonna launch a new website so that hopefully you will enjoy the presentation. Go ahead, Nits.
Yes, thank you, Nico Santos. Okay, so let me welcome our syndicates from Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Yes, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear po, Miss Mimi.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Mimi. And hello, Mr. Kiko. No, sorry, so, ang liit-liit ng mga letters. We cannot hear you po, Mr. Kiko. Oh, still sorry po, we still cannot hear you po. Oh, wala pa rin po.
Hello. Yes, Mike. Hello.
Ayan. Ayan. There you go po.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, and welcome. And it's hi, Nits, Miko, and Mimi, and also Malu. Hello.
Hi po, Miss Malu. Okay, so since we have three of our syndicates for Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate today, may I call on Mr. Kiko, kayo po muna to share about or to tell something about your podcast po.
Yeah. So basically, from the title of the program, Extra Session with Kiko Malikdem, it's more of about it's a sports podcast wherein I do interview people or personalities that touch the lives of the Filipinos through sports, and of course sometimes we talk about topics about the hottest topics in the world of sports, not only in the Philippines but also in the world. So basically, it's more on the sports program. We talk to different personalities, and it's a way of um, sharing to the people, to the listeners, and to the viewers, the the journey of our sports personalities towards their to their to what they are right now, something like that.
That's really nice po. I have actually listened to one of your podcast session po. You're always talking about sports po, di ba? So what got you into sports po?
Well, actually, I before I was a varsity player, so somehow the blood, the thirst now, this is sports, yeah, is into me. So when I graduated and found work, fortunately I was able to get into radio industry as a news writer and news reader. There was a vacant slot for host in one of the radio programs that no radio stations, which fortunately I was given a chance to host. And from there, since 2008 to 2019, yeah, almost 11 years, I was the host of that program. And it opened more opportunities for me to talk about sports. And then currently, I'm one of the play-by-play anchors of the National Basketball League Philippines. And of course, they can tell na parang it's really sports environment. Everyday people want to be relaxed, and one of the things that people uh it's more relaxed is if they hear more on sports. So fortunately, yeah, I handle sports less stress sa amin nila.
Less stress. So yeah, try ko nga lang po maging physically active this quarantine since yes, medyo
Mm.
bumalik nga po sa ECQ yung Philippines. And
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, paano niyo po ang pagsasabay? How do you do it? Like being a writer, being a broadcaster, and being a podcaster all at the same time.
Well, for that kasi it's more of time management. I do have this it's kind of weird. It's like having a checklist things to do. Something like that. When I set a schedule for my interviews, usually I do it. I do the recordings. I free one day for the recordings, and then that's it. It's more of time management for my part. That's why I'm able to uh I'm able to accomplish that task.
Yes, time
Mm.
management. Another question po. So, who is your main audience for your podcast po? Would it be the student athletes or current athletes of the Philippines?
Well, the main audience basically are all the sports lovers. Not only, well, although we have the majority of the topics that we discuss is more on basketball, since basketball is the number one sport in the Philippines. Um, we also have opportunities to talk about other sports such as volleyball and boxing. Um, so somehow I the audience are more of the sports lovers from class A to E. Anyone who has who is into sports can is one of the audience of extra session.
Yes, okay. As someone po na is not really sports inclined, can I watch your podcast po so I can
Yes, of course. Anyone can watch that. Actually, it's just that the audience that I have are more of the sports lovers. But then it doesn't mean that if you're not a sports lover, you cannot watch. But everyone is how do you call that? Is everyone is actually open to watch and view the program that I have. Not also my program, of course, but all of the programs of in Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate Philippines.
Oh yeah. So to those who are watching right now who are not that a sports lover, you can watch extra session. You can take note from Mr. Kiko right here. Okay, so my last question po, what's your advice to those who wants to start a podcast and doesn't know how to?
Well, first of all, you have to know what your target is. When I started the podcast, uh, I have I have already a topic in mind, and that is sports. Since I wanted to talk about sports, so from there I build on. I think of topics and list of interviews that I want. I have a target list of interviews weekly. Before I used to do it weekly, but since it's time constrained, I use it at least every other week. So I do have a list of of people that I want to talk to. So after that, I try my best. I try to reach out to those people if they are open for interviews. And fortunately, I've been lucky to to talk to people. So I mean, there are some, let's say, sports personalities back in the 80s, early 80s, early 90s that I've been fortunate that I can talk to. So that's why, it's an avenue. They're telling me that it's an avenue for them to get in touch again with with their Filipino basketball fans. Especially, for example, we do have some PBA imports. Uh, the PBA imports, I have one interview. Dennis Steele, he was a former naturalized player of the Northern Consolidation back in Ron Jacobs, Danding Coanco, Ambassador Danding Coanco's era. I was able to get in touch with him, and he was very, very, happy because it has been well. He left the Philippines in 1986, so from there he was not interviewed by anyone from the Philippine side. So when I reached out to him, he was very, very happy because he loved the Philippines so much. So that thing itself, it's very, it's I'm very happy that I am able to reconnect some sports personalities with the Filipino audience.
That's really nice to hear po since since yun nga po, no one interviewed him in the first place, and you gave him the chance to actually speak to the
Yes.
public about sports. So this is extra session with Kiko. So take the chance po to plug your podcast channel po.
Yeah, so I'm inviting everyone to watch our podcast, extra session with Kiko Malikdem in Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate Philippines. It's about sports, anything about sports, especially the world of basketball. It I think it's every Monday episodes. New episodes is every Monday. I'll try my best to have new episodes every Monday, but as of this time, it's every other Monday. So you can check it out in the different platforms, podcast platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. And of course, I'd like to take also the opportunity to thank the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate for welcoming me in the group. And of course, do not only support extra session, but I would like to ask everyone to also support all the other programs in Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kiko, and keep that spirit alive po.
Thank
Okay, so let's move on to Miss Mimi from Samusari Podcast.
Oh, sorry. I think I'm a bit dark because I had to move to another room because it's raining here in my location, and every time it rains, you guys are all buffering. So it's in any Zoom meeting or in any online meeting that I have, it's always happening. I moved to a very remote area, so internet is still a very difficult situation. But I would like to thank Mico and the Podfiesta team for organizing this very interesting and relevant event for podcasters all over the world. So happy to be here and happy to be a member of the Gorilla Podcast Syndicate.
Yes, and we're happy to have you po, rin po, Miss Mimi. So, care to tell us more about Samusari Podcast or your podcast channel po?
Okay, so Samutsari started in May 2020. That was the time when the pandemic just kicked in around that time. I was a little, there are two personal reasons why I decided to go podcasting. First is to go back to my broadcast roots. I started as a broadcaster in the Philippines more than 20 years ago. So I thought I'd like to do my self expression, so I needed an outlet to do that. And in January 2020, also my mother died here in Australia. So I took that very hard. So that's part of my anxiety, clinical anxiety. So my doctor advised me to undergo an activity or something that would release some of those grief and provide some form of stability for myself. So those were the two main reasons why I entered podcasting. And when Mico invited me, I really took that opportunity straight away. I didn't know how to begin, how to start, but when Mico said, "Do you want to become a part of this network?" I said yes straight away. So that was how Samutsari Conversations with Mimi was born.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, so I've actually listened. I've actually listened again to one of your podcasts. So, I've read that you stand as someone to talk to. Can you please elaborate more about that, Miss Mimi?
Okay, so during the pandemic, I realized that some people felt a little bit isolated, felt a little bit lonely. So I thought I'd introduce a show where I interview people. I talk to them very casually, like having a cup of coffee in a dreary, rainy afternoon. So it's something like to keep you company when you're on your own. So the focus of Samutsari is to talk about. I do that interview style. I very rarely talk on my own in the show. I always find a guest to interview. And the purpose of the show is to talk about people's passion, people's profession, people's talents, people's skills to inspire other people. So that releases some of your feelings of isolation that whenever you hear a feel good story from another person who's probably experienced something bad, you will say, hindi lang pala ako. Meron din palang iba. And you will say, oh, that person did that. How did she do it? How did he do it? So if they can do it, I can do it. It's something like the way I want to lift people's spirits up. And it's also a way to lift myself up in my mental health situation. So luckily, I was able to produce 32 episodes in season one. And now I'm on season two. And I decided to focus on people that are working online.
That's really nice po. So in a way, by lifting your spirits, you need to lift people up din po. So yes, lift up lang.
Positive vibes
um,
lang tayo. Positive vibes.
yes, positive. Remain to be optimistic po nga sabi nga nila. So is it true that you had 24 years of working in academe po, Miss Mimi?
Yeah, so I started at UPLB and then I moved to De La Salle and now I'm not in the academia.
What did you teach po?
Um, First of all, I'm a person that studied broadcasting and journalism, and my degree is in DevCom. And then when I moved to La Salle, I taught English and linguistics. So we are under the Brother Andrew Gonzalez College of Education, Department of English and Applied Linguistics. So it's a bit niched area. So anything that has to do with applied linguistics and my research focused on text messaging during its early years. So I love getting to understand why people text, how people text, what are the linguistic nuances of texting. But that was ages ago. And ngayon, may TikTok na tayo, may other modes of communication. May mga emoji na ngayon na hindi pa nag-exist noon. Emoticons pa ang tawag noon.
Yes po.
Mga ASCII characters pa yung ginagawa noon. So a lot has changed over time, digital communication. And I feel as an older person myself now, hindi na ako makakope sa changes ng technology. So I'm not sure whether I can study those things again. So at the moment, with everything else that's happening in my life, the podcast is the one that's kind of like my safe space. Like I own that space, and I'm happy when people make good comments about the show. And that's another way of meeting other people as well. So by interviewing people and reaching out to them, it releases myself of that feelings of isolation. Then, kasi na bumabalik yung aking parang kapal ng mukha. Bumabalik yung courage ko to approach those people. People that, some of them I don't even know for season 2. Most of the people that I interviewed in season 1 are people that are connected to me somehow. So I was able to reconnect to people that I haven't seen ages ago, mga years ago. And I'm leveling up now. I'm really interviewing people that I don't know at all. So maybe like Kiko, he has a list of people that he wants to interview. Ako naman always going online looking for the right people to interview. It's a catch-22. Some of them will say yes, but don't end up being interviewed. Some of them you don't expect na gusto pala nilang ma-interview. So it's good. We're kind of reaching out and increasing my networks that way.
Okay, thank you for that, Miss Mimi. And last question po, what do you think is your greatest achievement po by creating your podcast channel?
Oh, so I think the greatest achievement is being able to do it as a one woman show. I do my editing, I send it to the podcast team, I do my scripting, outlining, researching. It's hard, but you start somewhere. Sabi nga ni Kiko, you have to be brave enough to do this. And we don't need to be affiliated with a station like a radio station and buy your own frequency to share your message. Through YouTube, through Facebook, through the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, meron ka ng platform. And you have other people to support you. And I think this is the greatest achievement that I had for 2020, and hopefully it continues to grow for many, many more years. I hope I don't get tired of doing this. My kids are wondering, Mom, why at your age ngayon ka pa nagpa-podcast? Hindi ka naman millennial, hindi naman millennial ang audience mo. Um, I said, well, you're never too young to do something new, and you're never too old to do it as well. So push lang, push lang.
Yes, so in podcast, definitely age doesn't matter po, according to Miss Mimi. And so thank you so much. That's Samusari Podcast with Miss Mimi po. So take the stage po to plug your podcast channel po.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity to plug. Marami pong shows na Samutsari. So don't forget when you tune into my show, it's called Samutsari Conversations with Mimi. Kasi merong Samutsari na pwede siyang basta lang kwela-kwela Facebook page or a random show, other show. But ako, Conversations with Mimi, it's a show that allows you to talk to a friend. I am your friend online, and we talk about lots of different issues, hot topics that are interesting to both men and women alike. The show aims to inspire people about other people's experiences. So hop in, hop into my show as well. And if you want to be a guest, or if you know of other people who might have an interesting topic to share, just contact me through the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Thank you.
Thank you po, Miss Mimi. Okay, so let's move on to Miss Malu. Okay, hello po from Usapang CQ.
Hi, good afternoon from the Philippines. Hi, Nets. Hi, Kiko. Hi, Mimi. How are you?
Yeah, we're all good po. We're all good. Okay, so kamusta po pala from the Philippines?
My God, we're exploding here. It's like 2020, Pero parang worse. That's why I think this community, this Pod Fiesta Summit is very apropos, for our Filipino audience, because a lot of people are still on lockdown, especially here in Metro Manila and four provinces, in the Philippines. So we're basically back to zero, like last year we are exploding, this year we're exploding again because of the variants, of COVID-19. So we need to reach out to as many Filipinos as possible as well, through podcasts.
Yes, exactly po, Miss Malu. Okay, so care to tell us more about your podcast channel po, Usapang CQ.
Well, Usapang CQ stands for community quarantine. That's the Philippine version of the lockdown, So in Australia, what do you call it in Australia? Is it lockdown?
No, we only have level 1, level 2, 3, and 4. We only had one hard lockdown, which is level 4. Otherwise, yan sa amin yung MECQ, ECQ. Hindi nag-exist yung technology.
Convoluted, like CQ, community quarantine, because there's a law about lockdown. It's really antiquated law, but we call it community quarantine. We started with ECQ, that's enhanced community quarantine. That's the highest so far that we had. And right now we are on ECQ, Metro Manila and 4 provinces around Metro Manila are on ECQ. But when it eases a little bit, it turns to general community quarantine, modified community quarantine, etc., etc. So I thought of why not put up a show about CQ, community quarantine. So that parang merong retention then parang CQ, it's always community quarantine. But since my real passion is about OFW, so I focus about OFWs. Because when I saw news, because I used to be with the news, no? I used to be with a newspaper, a reporter, and then I used to be with the broadcast industry. Um, I when I read the news, I saw na parang wala masyadong story about OFWs. So I thought, na why not put a Facebook Live about OFWs. So the show started as an OFW-centric show, no? But later on, it progresses into more holistic, more general, like how to deal with the pandemic, how to thrive in the pandemic, exercising, ayan, sound mic, katulad ng ginagawa ni Ms. Mimi. And then going back again to very specific countries, like I go to Saudi Arabia, I interview OFWs in Saudi Arabia, interview OFWs in Hong Kong, for example. And then I also interview cabinet secretaries. I had Teddy Boy Locsin. Teddy Boy Locsin didn't actually, it's not actually very accessible to me. Then I suddenly agreed na to be interviewed online sa Zoom. Eh, syempre, medyo matanda na, syempre, mga cabinet secretaries, no? Pero talagang they had to adapt, no? They had to adapt to the new technology, including, I also had Secretary of Labor, who is Bebot Bello. So mga medyo in the spectrum na ng medyo 70s, di ba? And yet they have to adapt, and it's live, no? The problem and the challenge, and also more exciting is it's live. So when Mico asked me if I can join, said, okay, but I don't have time to edit anymore. Is it all right if you can just upload it as live, no? As a recorded as live? And he said yes, okay. So that's it. That's how I came about with the community.
Yes, thank you for that, Miss Malu. Okay, so I've actually read about your podcast. You're a daughter of OFWs, overseas Filipino workers.
Yeah, my mom used to be OFW sa Dubai. My dad also OFW siya before in Saudi Arabia. So I thought maybe because I used to be a daughter, no, child of OFW. Naramdaman ko nung time kasi nung Gulf War na parang kulang sa information, no? So I thought ako, paano pa kaya yung mga nandito, yung mga pamilya na nandito? Nag-aalala kung kumusta kaya yung pamilya nila, hindi kaya nagkasakit, gano'n.
Yes. So, what is it like to grow up with parents now who are very far away since they're working abroad?
Okay. May time ba tayo, mahaba to? Okay.
Medyo may time po.
Okay, just to shorten it, siguro, I'm one of those lucky ones na merong support, no, na from my tita, no, who became my second mom, no. Pero there are a lot of OFW families na walang ganon. So, nagkaroon ako ng second parent, and who guided me, no. Pero talagang may void talaga, no, having no parent at all na growing up, no, and then guiding you what to do. So magdadalaga ka na, tapos hindi mo alam kung ano yung paano how to deal with your yung changes, transition, parang ganon. And also at that time, no, 80s, my God, malalaman na ba ang age ko dito? Okay, nung mga 80s kasi wala pang ganito, walang internet. So they had to call, no? And phone calls are very expensive. And sometimes, doon pa sa kapitbahay namin sa may, pupunta pa, tatakbo pa. Para just to hear my mom or my dad, no, call. And nasanay din kami na meron kaming cassette recorders. Kasi siguro hindi rin ako nahirapan mag-podcast kasi kwento ako ng kwento. Alam mo ba, mama, ganyan-ganyan. Alam mo, papa, ganyan-ganyan. Nasa tape recorder. And pero sa dad ko, napansin ko, yung dad ko laging umiiyak. Yun, every time Ayan, napapayak tuloy ako. Oh my God! Ay,
Oh
every
no.
time, oo, every time na nagkukwento siya about yung life niya. Kasi nung time na yun talagang Gulf War, no? So parang Scud missiles all over. So, hindi niya alam kung mabubuhay siya. Parang ganito rin. Parang pandemic talaga. Di mo alam kung nung magkasakit ka ng COVID, mamamatay ka na ba? Tapos may nakikita akong ganun eh. And then you call yung mga nurses, you call the loved ones, tapos mag-goodbye na, di ba? Ganun, parang ganun na ganun eh. Ganun na ganun yung nararamdaman ng mga nasa labas. So I thought na bakit nga pa naman walang gano'n, wala. At no first wave ng ECQ dito sa Philippines. Hindi masyadong na-cover yung OFWs kasi nga very focused pa dun sa domestic setting. Yun.
Yes, and we thank you for that, for giving the OFWs their voices din and to give them the opportunity to listen to your podcast po, Miss Malu. Okay, so last question since we're pressed for time din po. What do you want to achieve with your podcast channel?
Start sa akin ba?
Sa'yo po, directly.
Sa akin ba? Okay,
Yes
sorry.
po.
Kala ko nag-round robin na. Okay. Actually, nung una, kaya siya CQ kasi I thought matatapos siya ng December. Ulit. So sabi ko, nga, ipapangalan ko ngayon. Pero CQ pa rin, no? CQ pa rin. So I guess, I have to rethink again kung talaga ba i-retain ko ba yung pangalan na Usapang CQ. Kasi yung iba, naisip ko, bakit yung SM, hindi naman talaga Schumart na siya forever, di ba? SM, natatandaan mo pa rin SM. Ayun, pero I'm thinking of if kailangan ba mag-rebranding or something. Pero right now, I'm happy where I am because I'm able to reach out to my audience, no. Tapos nanganganak siya ng community at the back end. Hindi siya nakikita on cam. Pero nanganganak ako ng mga community. I have an own community of Filipino nurses in Europe. So we help our Pinoy nurses in Europe also. And I have another community of our correspondents overseas and correspondents sa probinsya on how to deal with the pandemic. So, and then, nagkakaroon ako ng mga small steps lang naman. At the same time, I also thrive on my business. So, it's a lot of, parang nagmamatch lang siya sa mga goals ko. Actually, hindi ko naman talaga gusto maging hindi ko naman gusto maging, rapid tool ko or food ko maliktin. hindi ko siya ina-achieve. Ina-achieve ko na naman is, I have my own podcast. If I be able to impart yung mga knowledge ko and also my guests, no? On how to deal with this pandemic. Different may education, so sa different sectors or different different geography. So basta ang sabi nga, sino ba yung coach natin, Kiko, na nagsabi na kailangan meron metrics, no? Parang hindi ko yata kaya yun. Magagalit na sa akin si Mico, daldal ko. O, yun lang.
So thank you for that, Miss Malu. And please take your stage po to plug your podcast channel.
Okay, so for Filipinos overseas living or residing or working there overseas, we are here to help you. We're here to hear you. We're here to understand where you're coming from. Usapang CQ is here. If you want to reach out, just message me, just holler me. You can just Google or you can just search sa Facebook, Usapang CQ. By the way, I'm in YouTube na nga. And that's it. Usapang CQ airs every Saturday, 8 p.m. live. But you can also watch it also in YouTube, no? And then it's being repurposed in Guerrilla Podcast community. So we also have it in various Audible, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher, ano pa ba? The works, lahat ng channel like Camerloop ever, nandun kami. So wala na kayong excuse not to watch or not to listen. No? Yun.
Yes, we're everywhere. So thank you po sa ating Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate extra session with Mr. Kiko Malikdem. That's Usapang CQ with Miss Malu and then Samusari Conversation with Mimi. Okay, so to officially launch the video, here's a video presentation po for the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So that's the official launch of Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Thank you to all our podcasters. So Kiko, Malikden, Mimi, and Malu, and the rest of the gang. Thank you so much. And you can check the website at guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com. And thank you to Nits for the time. And we go back to Eka for continuation of the Pod Fiesta Summit.